So first tonight, big changes at the top of law enforcement. Our police and crime commissioners, they're going to be scrapped. Well, it's 12 years since the government introduced elected politicians to oversee our local forces. But today, the Home Secretary described it all as a failed experiment. Now, the current system was set up to make policing more accountable. The PCCs hire and fire chief constables. They set their forces' priorities. They also decide how to spend millions on crime prevention and how to charge through our council tax bills. Now, the government says scrapping that system will save money, which they can then invest in frontline policing. The opposition are describing this as just tinkering round the edges. Well, our social affairs correspondent, Jeremy Bull, I mean, you've been getting reaction right across the East Midlands, and these are big jobs, big changes.
Yeah, and these jobs being scrapped only a year and a half after we last went to the polls to vote for PCCs. The first reaction was a very critical one from Leicestershire's Commissioner. He's Rupert Matthews. He is the only ever reformed PCC after he defected from the Conservatives. We are still waiting for details about what's going to happen when his role's scrapped. Meanwhile, Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire are going to both lose their Labour PCCs. Nicole and Dwayne Roberts and Gary Godden here. Confirmation today that their responsibilities should move to the East Midlands Mayor.
I believe that better investment, greater opportunities are going to be there from Nottinghamshire. If we look at the example of Andy Burnham in Manchester and what he's managed to do for Manchester, let's look at it from the point of view and be positive about it in the sense that hopefully we will get a similar investment, similar following and similar outcomes.
As far as I can see, it's been pretty much written on the back of a fag packet. So it appears to be part of the Labour government's drive to have strategic mayors brought in. Now, whether we're going to have one of them in Leicester or not, we don't know. The whole drift of the police has been moving away from policing by consent.
So Rupert Matthews is not too impressed really with the changes. I mean, how typical is his response?
Well, some concerns from both his predecessors across the political spectrum, and the Conservatives, Clive Loader, told me he is deeply disappointed and worried that we're going to lose democratic accountability. Meanwhile, Labour's Willie Bark told me they need to avoid returning to oversight from a more anonymous committee-style system. I've also been speaking to one of our longest-serving chief constables. He's Mick Creedon. He says he worked well with the PCCs who oversaw his force in Derbyshire, but elsewhere he says there were huge problems.
Policing should be free of politics, not work in a political environment, and having one single individual elected on a very small mandate and a very small vote, I think is quite dangerous. And PCCs ultimately control the purse strings, they control the finances, and increasingly they can influence resource and operational deployment. And I know people who would not apply to a force to be a chief simply because of a PCC. That's not acceptable to the public.
So when does all this actually happen then? Because I guess it can't go overnight.
No, it's going to come in, we're told, in 2028. That's when the next mayoral elections are happening. So it all kind of happens together. A lot of changes to prepare for before then. We still don't know who's going to oversee policing in Leicestershire and Rutland. That is likely to depend on the council shake-up there. They are, though, already working on the handover in Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire, and it's going to put Labour's elected Mayor Claire Ward in rather an unusual position because she's going to be overseeing two different police forces. Now, she told me that she's planning to address that by giving the oversight to two different deputy mayors.
It'll help us to join up all the things that we're doing in making our communities safer, but it also means it will release money and we can put that into the frontline policing, making our communities safer and better places to be.
That's the hope, Anne. That's the plan. We're going to have to wait and see, I think, whether voters notice much difference to the way the police operate and also to a lot of other things PCCs control, and particularly funding money for things like crime prevention and youth projects as well.
Well, watch this space, as they say. Jeremy, thank you very much indeed for looking at